What is going on, everybody? Salute here, and today we are back with another video. And today we are looking at a very special guide, and this is my T16 Speed Farm build that I use for both bounties, but also especially like key farming. And I'm gonna go over the skills, the gear, the playstyle, etc. in this video, so I can show you guys how I do all my farming. Now this particular version is kind of different. We have almost removed all damage multipliers and we have gone for straight up just movement speed. So it does require quite a few things. Like, it's not a build you make exactly when you hit 70. You need some ancients, you need some paragon, you need a bit of everything. Before this like build really shines, you need some damage, right? Because we move a lot of damage to gain movement speed pretty much. So I wouldn't really recommend this build unless you're, fairly into the game and you have, an ancient weapon. You have some stuff that can make you, do damage while still removing stuff like focus, restraint, etc. All right, so at the start here, we're gonna go over the gear. It's fairly simple. It's pretty much a standard multi-shot, but with some variations, right? So we have our normal yanks with curve. Here you just want a high like attack speed, resource cost reduction. And of course the secondaries, you want the discipline and also a high multi-shot multiplier, right? We have an obsidian wing of the zodiac here. This is very crucial. This pretty much allows us to reduce the cooldowns of all our spells. And we need, stuff like attack speed, crit, cooldown. So this is pretty decent. Getting some good gloves is kind of important. You definitely want to at least get the trifecta or quadfecta if you can. But you'll just want like crit cooldown and also attack speed if you can get it. But I mean, it's also alright just getting like dex, crit cooldown, right? For shoulders, stuff like dex, vid, always cooldown is pretty good. You could also get like dex, vid, cooldown, and then resource cost reduction. That might be even better. But something like this would be fine. For the helmet, you definitely want dex, crit, multi-shot. There isn't really any other alternative. You definitely want, these stats on it. For the chest, it doesn't really matter a whole lot as long as you have the secondary, which is 12 discipline, right, for the maximum damage multiplier. For the belt and pants, we're using the Captain Crimson set. This is purely to get a lot of cooldown, a lot of resource cost reduction, and also the 3 sets increased our damage by percentage of cooldown, and damage taken was reduced by percentage of cost reduction. So we gain a lot of damage and a lot of resource cost reduction from this. The boots are pretty standard, just get multi-shot damage on it, is kind of all you need. Demon's Legacy, as long as you get the normal stats and multi-shot damage, and then you get a secondary, which is max discipline, and also you want a high secondary on the multiplier for the multi-shot, so like 200 is really good, like 190 at minimum. And for the wing, we have an average band. The stats doesn't really matter a whole lot. Of course, just damage and cooldown is fine, but we mostly after the secondary effect, which means that every time you pick up gold, you increase your gold and health pickup radius by 1 yard for 10 seconds, and this stacks up to 30 times. This allows us to not care at all about picking up globes, right? Because we're just gonna get the progression globes just like running past them. So this is like a really good just quality of life, and also we just get a lot of gold we're gonna use for empowering our rifts later, right? For wrist here, we can use the Worcestian Arm Guards, if that's how we pronounce it, or Nemesis Braces. This is pretty much just another movement speed multiplier, which is really nice. Just get more movement speed, right? For the necklace, I would definitely recommend the Scourge necklace. At least in the start of a season, you want to get the Scourge necklace. This just gives you a massive ton of damage because the 100% multiplier is really nice, and you do actually keep it up fairly often, even though we don't have any kind of shield. Because you just one-shot anything before they hit you, right? So, Square Necklace, really good. Now, for our legendary gems, we have Wreath of Lightning, Boon of the Hoarder, and Saystone of Vengeance. Later on, you can't throw up like Saystone of Vengeance for an even more movement speed, even more pickup, whatever. But we just want to get as much pickup, as much movement speed as possible. If you're making this build fairly early and you don't have enough damage, what I would recommend is changing your Wreath of Lightning to something like a Bane of the Trapped, and then changing one of your passives to Thrill of the Hunt, and that way you can proc more damage, right? Now in terms of a cube, we are using Echoing Fury. which slaying enemies in gold to fuel into frenzy. This is pretty much just a 25% attack speed and 25% increased movement speed buff we have up all the time. This is really nice. You could also go for like an Indium or Dawn, but I would probably recommend Echoing Fury as the movement speed is really nice. For armor slot and cube, I would recommend Pride's Fall. This is pretty much just like 30% extra resource cost reduction, which we need simply because our build is made to use discipline and hatred. So we want to get as much resource cost reduction we can, so we can still do damage, right? And of course the third ring here is the Ring of Royal Grandeur, because we are using 5 set UE and 2 set Captain Crimson's, which makes it so we get, the full effect of everything, right? Now in terms of our skills, we have Vengeance Seeth here. This is pretty much just to get, 10 hatred per second. This is our hatred generator, which is pretty useful. We have Smokescreen with Displacement. This is a small buff that lasts for about a second, and you gain 100% increased movement speed while it's active. You want to pretty much just spam these two. You want to have 100% of Vengeance, of course, which you probably will have from Captain Crimson's by itself almost. And then you want to spam your Smokescreen as much as you can, because like the movement speed increase is really nice from it. And then we have Vault with Tumble, which is just another form of moving around. And as you can see in the gameplay, it's just about, flying through the maps, just killing everything inside. You pretty much one-shot everything. So it's pretty strong. And we also have Shadow Power with Shadow Glide, which is another 30% increased movement speed while Shadow Power is active. Now this one is really important. We have Preparation with Invigoration, right? So it instantly restores 30 discipline, and passively also increase our max discipline. So the passive increase our max discipline. This is just to buff our UE even more. But the prep itself restores discipline. We need to use this fairly cleverly. We need to use it when we are lacking discipline, right? Because we are spamming all these 3 abilities, and all these cost discipline, right? And pretty much the only way to get back discipline is from health globes, progression globes, and then using prep. So this is like the most, like the thing you have to pay most attention to when playing the build, is when to use your prep. And usually like when you're like, missing 40 or something prep, then you use it. And of course the good old multishot here. And we are still using Arsenal just to fire out the rockets, and these rockets do a lot of damage, and they they snipe elites and stuff like that. So it's pretty good. As you can see in the clip above me, it is a pretty strong build, and I'm doing without a single paragon into dexterity. So I have about 13,000 main stat in the build you see. So it's still pretty strong, right? With that amount of dexterity. And of course when I have my paragon in, it's even quicker because I have like 21,000 or something. But I did just a normal session. I didn't cut it or anything. Like I'm just doing the rifts as you can see above me, without any paragon, and so you can see like the real damage of the build, right? For passive here we have Perfectionist. This reduces the discipline cost of all our skills, and also gives them toughness. This is really nice just for having more discipline for our movement skills. So it's pretty good. If you're playing like for instance with Bane the Trap, because you don't have the damage, I would probably swap this one to Thrill the Hunt, which then allows you to proc your Bane the Trap, right? Because it stuns enemies. Here using Tactical Advantage, which is just another movement speed increase. We gain 60% after using Vault, Shadow Power, Smokescreen, which are all of these. So we have Tactical Advantage up 24/7 doing our run, so we get 60% movement speed from this. Very strong. Our third here is Blood Vengeance. This increases our maximum hatred by 25. Not really that important. In addition, you gain 30 hatred and 3 discipline when you're healed by a health globe, right? This might not seem like a lot, but this also stacks with progression globes, right? So when you pick up progression globes or health globes, using your average band, you gain back a lot of hatred and discipline. And this helps you keep up your discipline so much, because you're spamming these 3 like constantly, right? So you can use a lot of discipline, and then Blood Vengeance and Preparation is our way to get back discipline, so we can use our movement speed spells even more. And if I have ambush here, this is simply just for even more damage. Pretty much just allows us to one-shot enemies as we come by them. Pretty self-explanatory. Just deal 40% increased damage to enemies above 75. And this just helps us, one-shot them. As you can see, the gameplay above me is pretty self-explanatory. You want to keep your vengeance up. Then you pretty much just spam your movement speed abilities. You don't really spam shadow power, but you have it, high uptime of it. And then you can pretty much just spam your smoke screen on cooldown. And also just use your vault when you get into like situations where a vault is necessary, right, to get around. This is it for the build pretty much. It's very quick. And I usually do my solo rifts in about a minute and a half on average. And of course, when you get into like the big open maps from the get-go, they take like 40 or 50 seconds total to, kill everything, spawn with gun, and pick up the keys, and then I'm out, right, in like 40-50 seconds. So it's a very strong build. Movement speed is the key here, and the more you can get, the better. And the damage you pretty much just get from the set itself. And of course, a few augments, some paragon, it's gonna make it even quicker. So yeah, it's not really a build for when you just start out. But once you get a few ancients, a few augments, this build is insanely good. And of course, it also works for bounties and also works for groups. It's just going to take a bit longer. You might want to swap a few things. This is mostly for solo, but of course you can also make it work for other things, right? Make sure to like the video if you enjoyed it. Also subscribe for future content. And that's about it for me. I hope you enjoy the build and have a good one. Peace out.